My name is Cassandra Kuyvenhoven, and I'm a PhD student in the School of Environmental Studies at Queen's University in Kingston, Ontario, Canada. My supervisor for my thesis is Dr. Myra Hurd. This video will provide a brief introduction to the aims and objectives of my project. Waste management is defined as the collection, transportation, and disposal of waste. Waste management encompasses management of all processes and resources for the proper handling of waste materials, from the maintenance of waste transfer trucks and dumping facilities to compliance with health codes and environmental regulations. Municipal solid waste consists of everyday items like coffee cups, apple cores, and packaging that are discarded by the public into the Canadian waste stream. But after waste is brought to the curbside, where does it go? In Canada, 34 million tons of MSW is handled by the waste management industry every year. In 2002, Canada transported over 1 million tons of waste within and between provinces and exported waste to other countries such as the United States, Mexico, China, and Korea. The Canadian waste stream is governed through the disposal, collection, and processing of waste materials and waste transportation from its point of generation, like households, industries, and institutions, to its point of disposal, like processing centers, landfills, waste-to-energy facilities, incinerators, and dumps. My research will focus on Canadian waste transportation and the transportation of recyclable materials, focusing on the governance structures and practices in Canada. My research questions include: what stakeholders are involved in governing waste and, more specifically, governing its transportation? Do certain stakeholders benefit from current waste transportation practices more than other stakeholders? And, if so, how? As waste moves within or outside of provinces and territories, what stakeholders become interested or disinterested in its transportation? What, if any, are the sustainable alternatives to waste and recyclables transportation? And how are these sustainable alternatives to waste transportation governed similarly or differently? Waste transportation depletes limited fossil fuel resources and contributes to the environmental problems associated with fossil fuel extraction, increases the number of vehicles on roads and thus vehicle production and maintenance, and increases our reliance on these roads, which may need to be constructed in the case of new landfills. Furthermore, significant differences in national regulations concerning landfill and other waste management technologies means that Canadian waste, for instance styrofoam, transported to China may end up in landfills that contain unsorted waste, are unlined, and are in close proximity to typically poor communities. On February 10, 2014, People's Television Network, a television network owned by the Philippine government, reported finding bags of Canadian waste at customs in Manila.
Who may have known that this 50-container van contains garbage from Canada? Customs has found the said contraband inside the Manila International Port Terminal, which were imported to the country last year. For the Philippines not to look like a trash bin, the BOC ordered its return to the country of origin.
Developing nations are often the recipient of illegal waste imports from developed nations, and the commingling of different nations' waste becomes a significant environmental issue. Some of my project outcomes will include an increased understanding of how much Canadian waste is being transported, critical insight into how stakeholder interests influence Canadian waste transportation practices, and an understanding of the feasibility of more sustainable waste transportation practices. This video discusses just a few examples of the practices and structures I will be investigating throughout my project.